The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room ever built by any species. It floated in the darkness between stars, a massive station made of white metal and glowing crystals. Inside, thousands of aliens sat in rising rows that went up and up until they disappeared into shadow. Every species in the known galaxy had a seat here. Every species except one. Humanity was new. Ambassador Yuna stood alone on the central platform. She was a small woman with black hair tied back in a simple knot. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Around her neck hung a silver pendant, a gift from her grandmother. She touched it now as she waited for the council to speak. The aliens watched her with many different eyes. Some had dozens of eyes. Some had none at all and sensed the world in other ways. They came in every shape and size. Some were tall and thin like walking trees. Others were short and round like living stones. There were beings made of light, beings made of shadow, and beings that seemed to change shape every few seconds. Yuna had studied them all. She knew their names, their histories, their customs. She had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. Earth had sent her because she was the best they had. The High Speaker floated down from the highest seat. He was a creature called a Varin, a being of pure energy held together by ancient technology. His form shifted and flickered like a flame made of blue lightning. When he spoke, his voice came from everywhere at once. "Human representative," the High Speaker said. "The Council has reached its decision regarding Earth's petition for membership." Yuna kept her face calm. "We await your wisdom, High Speaker." Around her, she could hear soft sounds of amusement. Clicks and whistles and strange vibrations that her translator told her were laughter. Many species found it funny that humans used words like wisdom when speaking to their betters. The High Speaker continued. "Earth has existed as a spacefaring civilization for only 300 years. In that time, your species has spread to 47 worlds. You have built ships, stations, and colonies. You have traded with many species. You have fought wars with others and with yourselves." Yuna nodded. All of this was true. "The Council has watched you carefully," the High Speaker said. "We have studied your history. We have seen what humans are capable of. We have seen your wars. We have seen your violence. We have seen how you treat each other." The laughter around the hall grew louder. Yuna felt her heart beating faster, but she did not let it show on her face. Because of this, the High Speaker announced, "The Council has decided that humanity is not ready for membership. You are too young, too dangerous, too unpredictable." Yuna had expected this. Earth's leaders had warned her it might happen. "We understand," she said carefully. "Perhaps in another 100 years." "No," the High Speaker interrupted. "You misunderstand. We are not simply denying your membership. We are declaring humanity to be vassals of the hegemony." The word hit Yuna like a physical blow. Vassals, slaves, property. "Your fleets will be dismantled," the High Speaker continued. "Your weapons will be destroyed. Your colonies will be administered by hegemony governors. Your people will serve the greater species as workers, soldiers, and servants. This is the Council's decision. It is final." The hall exploded with sounds of approval. Thousands of aliens cheered and celebrated. They had been waiting for this moment. Some species had argued for humanity's destruction. Making them vassals was seen as merciful. Yuna stood perfectly still. Her translator was working overtime, turning all the alien sounds into words she could understand. She heard their joy. She heard their mockery. She heard one species, the Krell, a race of insect-like warriors clicking excitedly about the human soldiers they would soon command. A tall, gray-skinned alien leaned forward in his seat. He was Lord Varric, leader of the hegemony forces. "Do not be afraid, little human," he said, with what might have been a smile. Serve us well, and your kind will be treated fairly. Resist, and you will be exterminated." Yuna looked up at him. She was so small compared to these beings. Her planet was just one world among billions. Her species was young and weak and alone. And yet, she smiled. It was not a big smile, just a small curve of her lips. But something about it made Lord Varric pause. Something about the look in her eyes made several nearby aliens shift uncomfortably in their seats. "I understand," Yuna said quietly. "I will deliver your message to Earth." She turned and walked toward the exit. The aliens continued to celebrate around her. They did not notice that she was not afraid. They did not notice that she was not angry. They did not understand what that smile meant. Yuna stepped onto her shuttle and sealed the door behind her. Only then did she let out a long, slow breath. She sat down in the pilot's seat and activated the communication system. "This is Ambassador Yuna calling Earth Command. Priority Alpha, Code Black." There was a moment of silence. Then a familiar voice answered. "This is Admiral Taiho. We received the Council's broadcast. We heard everything. Then you know what they've done?" "Yes." The Admiral's voice was calm. "Too calm. Are you safe?" "For now. They're letting me return to Earth to deliver their terms. They want us to see that resistance is useless." Admiral Taiho was quiet for a moment. "What did you see in there, Yuna? What did you see in their eyes?" Yuna thought about the question. She remembered all those alien faces looking down at her. She remembered their laughter, their contempt, their absolute certainty that humanity was nothing. "They don't see us as people," she said finally. "They see us as animals, as things to be used. They've already divided up our colonies among themselves. They're already planning how to use our soldiers and workers. To them, this is already over." "Good," Admiral Taiho said. Yuna blinked. "Good? They underestimate us. That's exactly what we need." She could hear the Admiral moving, heard other voices in the background. "Return to Earth, Yuna. Take your time. Let them think we're scared. Let them think we're beaten. And what we be doing?" The Admiral's voice dropped lower. "Making calls. Many calls. To people who've been waiting for this moment. People who hoped this day would never come but prepared for it anyway." Yuna felt something in her chest. Not fear, but something else. Something that felt like the beginning of a fire. "I saw something today," she said. "I saw how they looked at us. With such contempt, such arrogance. They have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. They have destroyed species who resisted. They have enslaved billions. And they think we will just accept it. They don't know us," Admiral Taiho said simply. "They read our history and saw our wars. They saw how we fight each other and thought it made us weak. They don't understand what it really means. What does it mean? It means we have had 10,000 years of practice." Yuna was silent for a moment, thinking about all the wars in human history, all the battles, all the strategies, all the weapons. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting itself. Every generation had produced warriors and generals and tacticians. Every century had brought new weapons and new ways to use them. The aliens had lived in peace for millennia. They fought sometimes, but not like humans. Not with the same desperate creativity. Not with the same willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. "The Council made a mistake today," Yuna said quietly. "Yes, they did. They saw our violence and thought it made us dangerous. They were right about that. But they thought they could control us. They thought that because they had bigger ships and more worlds, they could make us kneel." Admiral Taiho paused. "They forgot something important." "What?" "We have never knelt. Not to kings. Not to emperors. Not to gods. Every tyrant who has ever tried to rule humanity has fallen. Every chain we have worn, we have broken. It took time. It took blood. But we always won in the end. Yuna's shuttle reached the edge of Council space. In a few hours, she would enter human territory. She would see Earth ships waiting at the border. She would deliver the Council's terms. And then the real work would begin. "Admiral," she said, "how long do we have?" "The hegemony will give us 30 days to comply. They expect us to spend that time arguing among ourselves, trying to find a way out, eventually accepting that we have no choice. They expect our leaders to negotiate, and our people to protest, and our military to stand down. And instead, we will be very quiet. We will seem to accept our fate. Our leaders will make sad speeches about the end of human freedom. Our people will cry and hold each other. Our military will begin dismantling ships, the old ones, the ones we don't need. And the real fleet? The real fleet will disappear into the asteroid belts, into the gas clouds, into the places they would never think to look. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years, Yuna. We hoped it would never come. But we prepared anyway." Yuna closed her eyes and thought about her grandmother. The old woman had lived through the first contact with aliens. She had seen humanity's excitement turn to worry as they realized how vast and powerful the galaxy's civilizations were. She had helped design the contingency plans that were now being activated. "My grandmother used to tell me a story," Yuna said, "about a small country that was invaded by a great empire. The empire had millions of soldiers. The country had only thousands. Everyone thought it was over. Everyone thought the small country would fall in days. What happened? The hegemony supply depot floated in the darkness between stars. It was a massive station, bigger than most cities. Hundreds of ships came and went every day, carrying food and weapons and fuel to the hegemony's military forces across the sector. It was the most important facility in the region. It was also the least defended. After all, who would dare attack the hegemony? Captain Myre watched the station through the window of her ship. 12 vessels floated in formation behind her, all running silent with their systems powered down to avoid detection. They had traveled for 3 days through empty space, staying far from patrol routes and communication relays. "All ships report ready," her communications officer said quietly. "Weapons charged. Crews at battle stations." Myre nodded. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Every simulation, every exercise, every sleepless night of study had led to this. "Remember the plan," she said into her communicator. "Fast and hard. We hit the station, destroy what we can, and get out before reinforcements arrive. No heroes, no unnecessary risks. We need everyone alive for the next mission." 12 voices answered. "Understood, Captain." Myre took a deep breath. In a few minutes, the galaxy would change forever. Humanity would no longer be the quiet, obedient vassals the hegemony expected. They would be something much more dangerous. "All ships," she said. "Attack." The 12 vessels erupted from the darkness like wolves from the forest. Their engines blazed to life. Their weapons opened fire. The first shots struck the station's shield generators, overloading them in seconds. The aliens aboard the station never had a chance to respond. By the time their alarm sounded, human missiles were already tearing through the hull. Explosions ripped through cargo bays and fuel storage tanks. Fire spread through corridors as oxygen vented into space. One of the station's defense platforms tried to return fire. Myre's ship destroyed it with a single plasma blast. 30 seconds to completion, her weapons officer reported. Myre watched the station burn. She felt no joy in this. These aliens were not soldiers. Most of them were workers and administrators. They had probably never held a weapon in their lives. Killing them was not something she wanted to do. But she did it anyway. Because this was war. Because her people had been declared slaves. Because sometimes terrible things were necessary to achieve freedom. All objectives destroyed, her weapons officer said. The station is breaking apart. All ships, pull back. Set course for Rally Point Beta. The 12 human vessels turned and vanished into the darkness. The whole attack had taken 4 minutes and 17 seconds. No human casualties. No survivors on the station. Behind them, the burning wreckage of the supply depot tumbled slowly through space. It would be hours before anyone found it. Hours before the hegemony realized what had happened. The first blow had been struck. News of the attack spread quickly through hegemony space. At first, no one believed it. Humans? Attack a hegemony facility? Impossible. They were vassals now. They had accepted their fate. They had no ships, no weapons, no ability to fight. Then the second attack came. A communication relay station on the edge of human space. Destroyed in 6 minutes. No survivors. Then the third attack. A patrol fleet of 5 hegemony ships ambushed near a gas giant. 3 destroyed, 2 heavily damaged. The attackers vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Then the 4th, 5th, 6th attacks. Supply convoys raided. Listening posts destroyed. Patrol routes disrupted. Every few days, somewhere in the galaxy, humans struck without warning and disappeared without a trace. Lord Varric stood in his command center, staring at a holographic map of the sector. Red dots marked the locations of attacks. There were dozens of them now, scattered across space in no apparent pattern. How? He demanded. How are they doing this? We destroyed their military. We inspected their worlds. They had nothing. His intelligence officer, a thin creature with gray skin and nervous eyes, shuffled his feet. We may have missed something, my lord. Missed something? We counted every ship. We cataloged every weapon. We watched them dismantle their fleet. They must have hidden ships somewhere. Perhaps in the asteroid belts. Perhaps on moons we didn't think to check. Our sensors. The officer hesitated. Our sensors are designed to find large fleets, not small groups of ships hiding in debris fields. Lord Varric turned slowly to face his officer. His eyes were cold and hard. You're telling me that these primitives outsmarted us? That they hid an entire fleet right under our noses? It appears so, my lord. Varric was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the human ambassador he had spoken to in the council chamber. The small woman who had smiled when told her species would become slaves. At the time, he had thought her smile was acceptance. Now he wondered if it had been something else entirely. Find them, he said finally. Send every ship we have. Search every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris in human space. I want these terrorists found and destroyed. Yes, my lord. And the human colonies? Occupy them fully. No more inspections, permanent garrisons. If they're hiding fighters among their civilians, we'll find them. Anyone who resists will be executed publicly. The intelligence officer bowed and hurried away. Lord Varric turned back to the map, his mind racing. He had conquered dozens of species in his long life. He had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. This should be no different. But something about these humans worried him. They fought differently than other species. They didn't try to defend their territory or protect their assets. They struck at random, from nowhere, then disappeared. They seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. It was like fighting ghosts. Meanwhile, on the outer colony world of New Haven, Governor Doan stood in a room filled with screens and communication equipment. This was the broadcast center, the place where humanity's message would be sent across the galaxy. Is everything ready? He asked. The technicians nodded. We've hacked into the hegemony's communication network. When you press this button, your message will be broadcast on every channel, in every language, across the entire sector. Dohan looked at the button for a long moment. Once he pressed it, there would be no going back. The galaxy would know that humanity was fighting. The pretense of submission would be over. He thought about his family, his wife, and children, now safely underground in one of the hidden shelters. He thought about all the humans across the galaxy who were waiting for this moment, waiting for someone to speak the words they all felt in their hearts. He pressed the button. This message is for the Galactic Council, the hegemony, and every species in the known galaxy. I am Governor Dawn of the Human Colonial Authority. I speak for all of humanity. Across the sector, aliens stopped what they were doing. The message appeared on every screen, interrupted every broadcast, played through every speaker. Even Lord Varric, in his command center, found himself staring at the face of this human. 4 months ago, you declared humanity to be vassals of the hegemony. You told us our fleets would be dismantled. Our colonies would be administered by alien governors. Our people would serve as workers and soldiers for your endless wars. Dohan paused, his eyes hard and steady. We reject your declaration. We reject your authority. We reject your right to rule over free people. On 1,000 worlds, aliens watched in shock. This was not supposed to happen. Vassal species did not reject anything. They obeyed or they died. There was no middle ground. You looked at our history and saw our wars. You thought this made us weak. You thought we were too divided, too violent, too chaotic to stand against your order. You were wrong. Dahan's voice grew stronger. Our wars taught us something you have forgotten in your 10,000 years of easy rule. They taught us how to fight, how to survive, how to win against impossible odds. Every generation of humanity has produced warriors and leaders who refuse to surrender, no matter the cost. In the hidden shipyards and underground shelters, humans watched their governor with tears in their eyes. This was what they had been waiting for. This was the moment when their silence ended. You call us primitives. You mock our technology and laugh at our weapons. But you forget something important. We have spent 300 years watching you, studying you, learning your weaknesses. And we have been preparing. Lord Varric's hands tightened into fists. He wanted to scream, to order his fleet to destroy every human world immediately. But he could not look away from the screen. Your supply lines are vulnerable. Your patrol routes are predictable. Your sensors cannot see ships hiding in asteroid fields. Your soldiers have never faced an enemy who fights from the shadows. Dohan leaned closer to the camera. We are coming. Not in great fleets that you can see and destroy. We will come in small groups, striking without warning, vanishing before you can respond. We will burn your supply depots. We will destroy your communication relays. We will make you afraid to send ships into our space. On the frozen moon where Admiral Taiho watched, the old commander nodded slowly. Dohan was saying exactly what needed to be said. No threats of total victory humanity was not strong enough for that. Just the promise of endless, grinding resistance. The small country's people went to the mountains. They hid closely during this time. They expected anger. They expected protests. They expected desperate attempts to fight back or negotiate. Instead, they got silence. On Earth, people went about their daily lives. Children went to school. Workers went to their jobs. Families ate dinner together and talked about small things. The news channels showed sad stories about the end of human independence, but there was no panic. No chaos, just quiet acceptance. The alien observers found this strange but not surprising. They had seen it before with other species. First came shock. Then came denial. Then came acceptance. Humanity was simply moving through the stages faster than most. Colonial. Governor Jisoo watched the alien inspection ship land on her planet. She stood at the edge of the landing pad with her hands folded in front of her. Her face showed nothing but polite welcome. The planet was called New Sol. It was a small world, mostly covered in forests and mountains. 50,000 humans lived here, farming the land and mining the hills. It was not an important world, not worth much to the hegemony, but the inspectors came anyway. 3 aliens stepped off the ship. They were Krell, the insect-like warriors who would soon command human soldiers. They were tall and covered in black armor that was actually part of their bodies. Their eyes were like dark jewels, and their mouths were full of sharp teeth. "Governor," the lead Krell said. His voice was like stones grinding together. "I am Commander Vec. I am here to inspect your world and begin preparations for the transition." "Welcome to New Sol, Commander," Jisoo said. She bowed slightly, the way the hegemony expected vassal species to bow. "We are honored by your presence." Commander Vec made a sound that might have been laughter. "Honored? Yes, I am sure you are." He looked around at the landing pad, at the simple buildings beyond it, at the mountains in the distance. "This is a small world. Not much value here." "No, Commander. We are simple farmers and miners. We have little to offer the great hegemony. You have soldiers, workers, bodies to throw at our enemies." Vec's dark eyes studied her. "Your military records show you have 3,000 trained fighters on this world. Where are they?" "Standing down, as ordered. They have returned to their families. Their weapons have been collected and stored for destruction." Jisoo gestured toward a large building at the edge of the settlement. "If you wish, I can show you the armory. You will find everything in order." Vec was quiet for a moment. He had inspected many worlds in his life. He had seen species react to conquest in many different ways. Some fought and were destroyed. Some begged and were ignored. Some tried to hide and were found. But he had never seen a species so calm about losing their freedom. "Show me," he said finally. Jisoo led him through the settlement. People stopped and bowed as they passed. They kept their eyes down. They said nothing. Children were pulled inside by their parents. Dogs stopped barking and lay down. The armory was a large building made of gray stone. Inside, Jisoo showed the commander rows and rows of weapons. Rifles, pistols, grenades, even a few small combat vehicles. "All accounted for," she said. "You can verify the serial numbers against our military records." Vec walked slowly between the rows. He picked up a rifle and examined it. It was old technology by hegemony standards. Primitive, really. These weapons could barely scratch the armor of a Krell warrior. "Pathetic," he muttered. "This is what humans call military equipment. We are a young species, Commander. We never claimed to be powerful." Vec dropped the rifle back on its rack. "No, you claim to want membership in the Council. You claim to be ready to join galactic civilization. Instead, you are children playing with toys." Jisoo said nothing. She just stood there with her hands folded, waiting. The commander spent 3 more hours inspecting the settlement. He looked at the farms. He looked at the mines. He counted the population and checked it against the records. Everything matched perfectly. As his ship prepared to leave, Vec turned to Jisoo one last time. "I expected more trouble from your kind. The council said humans were dangerous, violent, unpredictable. We are just trying to survive, Commander. We know we cannot fight the hegemony. We only want to live in peace. Peace." Vec made that grinding sound again. "There is no peace for vassals. Only service. Remember that, Governor. Your children will grow up as servants of the hegemony. Their children will never know anything else. In a few generations, humans will forget they ever dreamed of freedom. He walked onto his ship without waiting for a response. The engines fired, and the vessel rose into the sky. Jisoo watched it until it disappeared among the clouds. Then she smiled. She pulled a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. All around her, other devices beeped in response. In homes and farms and mines across the settlement, people stopped what they were doing and looked up. "They're gone," Jisoo said into the device. "Begin Phase 2. The ground beneath the settlement began to shake. Not from an earthquake, but from something mechanical. Something huge moving deep underground. Across New Seoul, hidden doors opened in hillsides and cliffsides. From these doors came vehicles and equipment that had never appeared in any military record. The weapons in the armory were decoys, old rifles, and obsolete grenades that humanity had never intended to use. The real weapons were. Underground. Engineer Hyun climbed out of a hatch near the main settlement. She was a small woman with short hair and oil stains on her hands. She had not slept in 3 days. None of the engineers had. "Report," Jisoo said. "The underground facility is complete," Hyun said. She was grinning despite her exhaustion. Capacity for 40,000 people. Food production, water recycling, air filtration, everything we need to survive for years if necessary. The weapons? Hidden in the asteroid belt. The Krell never thought to look there. Why would they? It's just rocks and ice. Hyun's grin widened. They have no idea we've been building ships inside those asteroids for the last 20 years. Jisoo nodded. Good. What about the civilians? Ready to move underground at a moment's notice. We've been practicing evacuation drills for months. Everyone knows exactly where to go. The plan was simple but effective. When the hegemony came to truly claim their new vassals, they would find empty cities. The humans would be underground in facilities that were shielded against sensors and protected by miles of rock. The aliens could bomb the surface all they wanted. The people would survive. And while the hegemony searched for their missing slaves, humanity's real fleet would be striking from the shadows, far away on a frozen moon orbiting a gas giant. Another part of the plan was unfolding. Admiral Taiho stood in the command center of Shipyard 7. Around him, thousands of workers moved like ants through the massive underground facility. The sound of welding and hammering and machinery never stopped. Status report, he said. Captain Myray stepped forward. She was young for her rank, barely 30 years old. But she had proven herself in dozens of simulations and training exercises. She was one of the best pilots humanity had ever produced. We have 42 ships complete and combat ready, she said. Another 30 will be finished within the month. The crews are trained and waiting. Weapons? Full loadout. Plasma cannons, missile systems, point defense arrays. Plus the new technology from Project Thunder. Admiral Taiho raised an eyebrow. Project Thunder is ready. The scientists say yes. They've tested it on asteroids. The results were... Myray paused, searching for the right word. Impressive. Project Thunder was humanity's secret weapon. For decades, scientists had been working on a new type of explosive, something that could destroy even the heavily armored ships of the hegemony. The physics was complicated, but the result was simple. A bomb that could crack a moon in half. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for so long that they had stopped innovating. Their weapons were powerful but old. Their ships were massive but slow. They had never needed to develop new technology because no one could challenge them. Humanity had spent 300 years catching up. And in some areas, they had already passed their future masters. What about the other shipyards? Taiho asked. All reporting similar progress. When we move, we'll have over 300 ships. Small by hegemony standards, but fast and heavily armed. More importantly, they won't see us coming. The admiral walked to a large window that looked out over the shipyard floor. Below him, a new battleship was taking shape. It was sleek and black, designed to absorb sensor readings rather than reflect them. The hegemony wouldn't detect it until it was already firing. "My grandmother used to tell me stories," Taiho said quietly, "about the old wars on Earth, about how smaller armies defeated larger ones through surprise and cunning. The hegemony expects us to fight the way they fight," Myray said. "Big fleets meeting in open space. Fair battles with clear rules. They don't understand guerrilla warfare. They don't understand hit-and-run tactics. They've never faced an enemy who fights dirty. Then they're about to learn." Taiho turned away from the window. "What's the status of our intelligence network?" "Ambassador Yuna has established contacts throughout Council space. We have agents on 12 hegemony worlds. We know the locations of their supply depots, their communication relays, their patrol routes. When we strike, we'll know exactly where to hit them." "And our people? The civilians?" Maray's expression softened slight. "You cannot defeat us by destroying our cities. Our people are already underground, in shelters you cannot find. You cannot defeat us by killing our leaders." For everyone who falls, 10 more wait months had passed since Governor Dohun's broadcast. 8 months of raids and ambushes and burning wreckage. 8 months of the hegemony, chasing shadows through the darkness of space. And now it was time to end it. Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance. Around him, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled waited in the cold emptiness between stars. 3,000 ships hung in perfect formation, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and carriers. Each one was black as night, built to absorb sensor readings and vanish against the backdrop of space. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Captain Myray said. She stood at his side, her uniform perfect, her eyes bright with anticipation. "The fleet is at full combat readiness." Taiho nodded slowly. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night had led here. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours. "Show me the target," he said. The main screen lit up with an image of a planet. It was beautiful in a cold way, swirling clouds of purple and gold. 3 moons orbiting in perfect alignment. This was Hegemony Prime, the heart of alien civilization. The seat of the Council. The home of Lord Varric and his government. "Enemy fleet status?" Taiho asked. Weapons Specialist Soman stepped forward. She was young but brilliant. The best targeting officer in the human military. Approximately 4,000 ships in orbit around Hegemony Prime, another 2,000 within response distance. Their defenses are the strongest in the galaxy. And our advantage? They don't know we're coming. Soman allowed herself a small smile. Our intelligence network confirms that they believe our fleet is still scattered. Their sensors show small groups of ships raiding in a dozen different sectors. They have no idea we've gathered here. Admiral Taiho looked out the window at his fleet. 3,000 ships against 6,000. The numbers were not good. Any other species would call this suicide, but humanity had never been any other species. "The plan remains unchanged," Taiho said. "We jump in closer than they think possible. We ignore their outer defenses and head straight for the planet. Our objective is not to destroy their fleet. Our objective is to reach Hegemony Prime and show them that we can." "And Project Thunder?" Myray asked quietly. Taiho was silent for a moment. Project Thunder, the weapon that could crack moons. He had hoped never to use it. The power it represented was terrifying, even to him. "Only if necessary," he said finally. "We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to send a message. We're here to show them that their capital is not safe. That nowhere is safe. That they cannot rule over us. And if they don't surrender, then we hurt them." We destroy their shipyards, their government buildings, their military headquarters. We make them understand that continuing this war will cost them everything. But we do not destroy the planet. Taiho's voice hardened. We are not them. We do not murder billions to make a point. The bridge crew nodded. They understood. This war had never been about revenge. It had been about freedom, about showing the galaxy that humanity would not kneel. All ships, Taiho said into the fleet-wide communication channel. This is Admiral Taiho. You all know why we are here. You all know what we face. The enemy outnumbers us. They are more powerful than us. By every measure that matters to them, we should lose this battle. He paused, letting the words sink in. But we have something they do not have. We have 300 years of fighting wars. We have tactics they have never seen. We have weapons they do not understand. And most importantly, we have each other. Across 3,000 ships, human crews listened to their admiral. Some were veterans of the guerrilla campaign, hardened fighters who had destroyed dozens of enemy vessels. Others were new recruits who had never seen combat. All of them were afraid. And all of them were ready. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity can do. Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for every species that has ever been crushed under the hegemony's rule. Today, we become the spark that lights a fire across 1,000 worlds. Taiho raised his hand. All ships jump. The universe twisted. 3,000 ships vanished from empty space and reappeared in orbit around Hegemony Prime. Chaos erupted. The Hegemony fleet was caught completely off guard. Their sensors screamed warnings. Their commanders shouted orders. Ships scrambled to change formation, to raise shields, to power weapons. But they were too slow. The human fleet cut through them like a knife through paper. Target the command ships, Taiho ordered. Disable their coordination. Summon's fingers flew across her console. Targeting solutions locked. All batteries firing. The Vengeance shuddered as its plasma cannons unleashed hell. Across the fleet, thousands of weapons fired simultaneously. The sky around Hegemony Prime lit up with explosions as Hegemony ships were torn apart. Lord Varric stood in his command center, watching in disbelief. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be scattered, weak, hiding in asteroid fields. They were not supposed to be here in the heart of Hegemony space, with a fleet larger than anyone had imagined. How? He demanded. How did they get here? No one had an answer. All ships, engage. Varric screamed. Destroy them. Destroy them all. The Hegemony fleet began to respond. Thousands of ships turned toward the human invaders. Weapons fire filled the space between them. Ships on both sides exploded and burned. But the humans were not fighting to win a traditional battle. They were fighting to reach the planet. First wave, break through, Taiho ordered. Second wave, provide cover fire. Third wave, with me. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first drove straight toward the planet, ignoring the enemy ships around them. The second engaged the Hegemony fleet, drawing their attention and fire. The third followed Taiho toward the government sector of Hegemony Prime. Captain Murray led the first wave. Her ship, the Phoenix, took hit after hit but kept flying. Around her, other human ships fell burning, breaking apart, their crews dying in the cold of space. She did not look back. She could not afford to. Almost through, her pilot reported. Entering atmosphere in 30 seconds. All ships, follow me down. Target the orbital defense platforms. The Phoenix dove toward Hegemony Prime. Behind it, 200 human ships followed. They fell through the clouds like burning stars, their weapons blazing. The orbital platforms, massive stations designed to destroy any invasion. Fleet fired back with everything. They had. It was not enough. Mari's first wave smashed through the planetary defenses in under 10 minutes. The orbital platforms fell silent, their crews dead or fleeing. For the first time in 10,000 years, Hegemony Prime was UNDEFENDED back in space. Admiral Taiho led his group toward the Council Station, the floating palace where the High Speaker and the Lords of the Hegemony lived and ruled. His ships were taking heavy losses. Every minute, more human vessels exploded around him. But he did not stop. Communications Officer Yunji worked frantically at her console. Admiral, I'm broadcasting on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy can see what's happening here. Good. Let them see. On 100 worlds, aliens watched in stunned silence. The Council Station, the most protected place in the galaxy, was under attack. Human ships swarmed around it like angry bees. The station's defenses fired desperately, but more humans kept coming. We're in position, someone reported. All weapons locked on the Council Station. Taiho stared at the station through his window. Inside that structure were the beings who had declared humanity to be slaves. The ones who had laughed when Ambassador Yuna stood before them. The ones who thought they could rule over free people. Open a channel to the station, he said. I want to speak with them directly. Unji's fingers moved quickly. Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Taiho of the Human Defense Force. You are surrounded. Your fleet is being destroyed. Your planetary defenses have fallen. Your capital is at our mercy. Inside the Council Station, the High Speaker flickered with agitation. Lord Varric stood beside him, his gray face pale with shock. Around them, dozens of alien leaders watched the human fleet fill their windows. You cannot win, Varric said. His voice transmitted to the human flagship. Even if you destroy the station, the hegemony will hunt you down. We have thousands of worlds. Millions of ships. You are nothing. Nothing? Taiho allowed himself a cold smile. We are nothing, and yet we are here. In your capital, with weapons pointed at your government. Your defenses could not stop us. Your fleet could not stop us. What makes you think anything else will? You will be destroyed, Varric insisted. Every human world will burn. Your species will be erased from history. Perhaps. But before that happens, we will destroy you. We will destroy your council, your government, your military command. The hegemony will collapse into chaos, and every species you have oppressed will rise against you. The High Speaker spoke for the first time. What do you want, human? What could possibly satisfy you? Admiral Taiho was quiet for a moment. He thought about all the humans who had died in this war. The crews of destroyed ships. The civilians killed in hegemony raids. The soldiers who had given their lives so that humanity could reach this moment. I want you to understand something, he said Finn. The council chamber was burning. Ambassador Yuna walked through the ruins slowly, her boots crunching on broken glass and shattered crystal. The great hall that had once held thousands of alien delegates was now empty and dark. Smoke drifted through the air. Emergency lights flickered red and orange. She remembered standing in this room 1 year ago. She remembered how small she had felt, how the aliens had laughed at her, how they had looked down from their high seats with contempt in their many eyes. Now those seats were broken. The high platforms had collapsed. The beautiful white walls were scarred with blast marks. Yuna was not here for revenge. She was here to finish what humanity had started. Ambassador. A voice came from behind her. She turned to find Fleet Commander Jiwan approaching. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had led one of the assault teams during the battle for Hegemony Prime. His uniform was torn and stained, with blood, some of it his own. The station is secure, he reported. We've captured most of the council leadership. The High Speaker is being held in the upper chambers, and Lord Varric, Jiwon's expression darkened. He tried to escape during the fighting. Captain Mireille intercepted his ship. He's dead. Yuna nodded slowly. She felt nothing at the news. No satisfaction, no grief. Just a tired acceptance that it was done. Take me to the high speaker. They walked through the ruined station together. Everywhere they went, they passed signs of the battle. Fallen walls, destroyed equipment, bodies of aliens who had tried to resist. Human soldiers stood guard at every corner, their weapons ready. The upper chambers had once been the most luxurious part of the station. Now they were just another wreck. Yuna found the high speaker in what had been his private quarters. The being of energy flickered weakly, his blue light dim and unstable. "Ambassador," the high speaker said. His voice was quiet, defeated. "I wondered if you would come." Yuna stood before him, hands clasped behind her back. "I told you I would deliver your message to Earth. I kept my word. Now I'm here to deliver Earth's message to you." "And what message is that?" "Humanity is free. That is not negotiable. Your forces will leave our space within 30 days. Any ship that remains will be destroyed." The high speaker flickered. "This is acceptable. I'm not finished." Yuna's voice hardened. "You will also release all vassal species. Every world under hegemony control will be given the choice to remain or leave. You will not punish those who choose freedom. Impossible. The hegemony cannot survive without. The hegemony has already fallen." Yuna stepped closer. "Look around you. Your council is destroyed. Your military is broken. Your leader is dead. The hegemony you knew no longer exists." The high speaker was silent for a long moment. His light dimmed even further, until he was barely visible. "You don't understand," he said finally. "The hegemony has ruled for 10,000 years. We brought order to the galaxy. We stopped wars. We prevented chaos. Without us, without you, species will have to find their own way. Some will succeed. Some will fail. But they will be free to make their own choices. That is how it should be. Freedom leads to conflict. Conflict leads to death." Yuna thought about human history. All the wars, all the suffering, all the times her species had fought and bled and died for the right to choose their own path. "Yes," she said quietly, "freedom is dangerous. It's messy and painful and full of mistakes. But it's also the only thing worth having. Your hegemony brought order, but at the cost of crushing everyone who disagreed with you. You didn't prevent conflict. You just moved it underground, where it festered and grew. And what will you? Build in our place? Another empire? Another system of control?" "No." Yuna shook her head. "Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to live in it as equals. We'll help the species you oppressed find their footing. We'll trade and cooperate, and sometimes argue. But we won't make your mistakes. We won't declare anyone our servants." The high speaker was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was different, older, sadder. "Perhaps you are right. Perhaps we lost something important over these 10,000 years. We became so focused on control that we forgot why we wanted it in the first place. Then help us build something better. Use what's left of the council to help the transition, not as rulers, but as advisors. Share your knowledge. Guide the younger species. Earn their respect instead of demanding their obedience. You would. Trust us? After everything we did to your people?" Yuna allowed herself a small smile. "Trust has to start somewhere. My grandmother used to say that the hardest thing about war is knowing when to stop fighting. The battle is over. Now we have to learn how to live together." Outside the station, the work of rebuilding had already begun. Human ships moved through the wreckage, collecting survivors and clearing debris. Medical teams treated the wounded human and alien alike. Engineers began repairing the critical systems that kept the station functioning. Captain Myray supervised the securing of orbital space. Her ship, the Phoenix, was badly damaged but still flying. She had lost half her crew in the battle. The names of the dead ran through her mind constantly, a reminder of the cost of victory. "Captain," one of her officers approached. "We're receiving communications from alien worlds across the sector. They want to know what happens now." Myray looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of beings were watching what humanity would do next. Would they prove to be just another empire, replacing one tyranny with another? Or would they be something different? "Tell them the truth," she said. "Tell them the hegemony has fallen. Tell them they're free. And tell them that humanity offers friendship, not rule." On the surface of Hegemony Prime, the reactions were mixed. Some aliens celebrated in the streets, overjoyed at the fall of a government that had oppressed them for centuries. Others mourned, frightened of a future without the order they had known. And on 100 vassal worlds, beings who had lived as servants their entire lives looked up at the sky and wondered what freedom would feel like. Admiral Taiho made his address from the Bridge of the Vengeance. His message was broadcast across the galaxy, translated into 1,000 languages. "People of the galaxy, today marks the end of an era. The hegemony that ruled you for 10,000 years has fallen. This was not our goal. We fought only for our own freedom. But we will not apologize for what we have done." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You looked at humanity and saw a primitive species to be used. You laughed at our small ships and young civilization. You declared us vassals without asking what we thought. You pushed us into a corner and expected us to submit." Taiho's voice hardened. "You forgot something important. Humanity has spent its entire existence fighting for survival. We have faced extinction events, ice ages, plagues, and wars. Every challenge has made us stronger. Every defeat has taught us to fight better. We are not a species that knows how to surrender." Around the galaxy, aliens listened. Many of them had never seen a human before. They had only heard stories about the violent primitives from a small planet who dared to challenge the hegemony. Now they saw the truth. "We do not want to rule you. We do not want your worlds or your wealth or your obedience. We want only to live as equals, to trade and learn and grow alongside you, to build a galaxy where every species can choose their own path." The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Some of you fear what comes next. You wonder if one master has simply been replaced by another. I understand that fear. But I promise you this. Humanity will not become what we fought against. We will help you rebuild. We will share our technology and our knowledge. And when you are ready to stand on your own, we will step back and let you." He stood straighter. "The age of the hegemony is over. A new age is beginning. It will not be easy. There will be challenges and conflicts and hard choices. But for the first time in 10,000 years, you will face them as free people. That is worth more than any empire." The broadcast ended. 6 months later, Ambassador Yuna stood in a different chamber. This one was newer, built on neutral ground far from any species' territory. It was smaller than the old council hall designed for discussion, not domination. Representatives from 200 species filled the seats. Some had been hegemony rulers. Others had been vassals. All of them had come together to build something new. "The vote is complete," Yuna announced. "The Free Worlds Alliance is officially established. All member species will have equal standing. Decisions will be made by consensus, not command. No species may declare another a servant or slave." Around the chamber, applause erupted. Beings that had been enemies months ago now stood side by side, united in hope for a better future. Later, Yuna found a quiet corner and looked out at the stars. She thought about her grandmother, who had lived to see first contact but died before the war began. She thought about all the humans who had given their lives for this moment. She thought about the journey that had brought her from that humiliating day in the old council chamber to this day of triumph. Admiral Taiho found her there. "You look thoughtful." "I'm thinking about what comes next. The hard part isn't winning the war, it's winning the peace." Taiho nodded. The Gemini fell because they forgot how to change.